Okay, so I don't usually critique sketches, just because I don't like sketching over the. I mean, I do critique traditional work. A lot of my private students do submit traditional work, but I usually try not to do them because I just ruin the grain of the brushstrokes. But you have an issue with perspective. So you're looking at your drawing and you're like, hey, what's wrong with my drawing? Well, I'll tell you, it's perspective. There are a very strict set of lines that guide us around the symmetry of the face. The face has real mathematical symmetry to it. And when we're talking about things that are placed evenly on a surface, we're talking about perspective when that surface moves around. So if the equal distance between this and there's a mirror reflection between one side and the other, and these things contort, we can trust those lines when we follow them to give us an accurate depiction of how these features, which are symmetrical and equal in size, either way across the middle on the symmetry line, we can trust that these lines will guide us around how these features, after they have been tilted in perspective, how they look in their new frame, in the new tilt, after the animation of the tilt happens. So imagine her face facing you forward, and then she tilts her head away. Those symmetry lines, those, imagine a face, vertical line, and then horizontal lines to graph the eyes and the mouth and the nose, and the symmetry line for the vertical symmetry. We can trust these lines to guide us. So when you don't use this is the problem. When we don't, hey Marco, thank you for coming. When we don't use these lines, when we're drawing a face in front view, what makes you think you're going to use these lines and know how to use them if you started using them in side view? So in the first frame of the animation, so imagine her face facing forward and then she tilts away, that's like a couple frames. The first frame of the animation in your brain, your visual library, is telling you, you know how to draw the face, and it knows how to draw it without the vertical line. So that means that when you are tilting the face without a good foundation of symmetry lines in your use of drawing a face, you won't know what to do with the eyes when they're tilted. This is a depiction of what you managed to figure out after using this as reference. This is a depiction of what went into your brain and through your eyes and down your arm and through your brush, through the tablet, through the pen, and onto the monitor, and the whole digital dashboard. This is all that came out. One of the things that should have come out, this is a lot. This is speaking a lot. This is saying that you have the capacity and the inner RAM to get pretty much the entire picture, but there are some things holding you back from being advanced. You're still beginner right now. This still looks like beginner to me. And it looks beginner to me because there is a major fundamental in the way we graph the face that's missing, and that's the perspective. And when we're tilting a face like this, instantly, anything that is not front view or perfect side view, level with the camera, is in perspective. Write that back to me. Write that down. That means that everything that is not facing the camera perfectly level, the horizontal line of the eyes is not level with the camera's crosshair, means that it's in perspective. Everything that is not perfectly leveled with the camera is in perspective. So the legs of a perfectly leveled face are in perspective. Get it? Because they're not level with the camera anymore. If the camera leveled to the feet, the head will no longer be perfectly aligned. It'll be in perspective. So, right, the only thing that is not in perspective right now is probably like this part of the neck, because the camera is probably level with the neck right here. She's above the camera is looking up at her. So the thing that is level with the camera is probably her neck or her shoulder line. That's why we don't see much perspective happening here. We see a perfectly normal silhouette of the neck. And that's pushing it too, theoretically. So what you're missing here, so I told you what you need. Now this is the fix. This is how it changes stuff. Let me show you. Bringing down density. See this line? You guys should be able to see it. If you don't see it, you need to start drawing some trace-over diagrams. Trace-over diagrams are when we have a photo and we're using contour lines, longitude and latitude lines to draw on top of the surface of something, on a face or an organic shape or a geometric shape, to determine its highs and lows, its ups and downs. So when we're thinking like this and we're drawing objects in perspective, we're drawing the contour lines on top, we're drawing the vertical and horizontal lines, you will eventually, after doing that for so many times, no longer need to draw them. You still see them. So squint of your eyes, everybody, squint your eyes. You see this line that is guided by the eyes, this very, very I mean, it bends down sometimes it goes up, but it's just a very distinct line. If we found an average, if we made an average graph or something, there's a line right here, and that line is missing. So that's the first thing that I do, is I try to show that line. This is a lot of work. And when an eye, I think I can draw in this, I don't think I, why doesn't it let me draw? I'm still new to Windows 10. I hate Windows 10, but I had to minimize how much troubleshooting I had to do when I was fixing my fucking Wacom, but I don't know why it's not letting me draw. Damn it. Okay, I'm just gonna have to load it onto Photoshop. But what happens is the eyes are no longer perfectly circular. So another reason why you had issues drawing this face in perspective is because you were still drawing the eye as if it was facing forward. See this eye is a front view eye. Look at that. It didn't look like half a slice of an orange or something. You know, see what I mean? Like it didn't look like a half moon. Didn't look like an orange slice, I mean. It didn't look like a half moon. This is a half moon shape. This is a line and then a circle. What you did was you gave me a perfect circle, or almost perfect eye circle. So that half moon shape is needed. Just this alone has corrected a great deal of the perspective issues in this sketch. The eyebrows also we see more of the lower side of the eyebrows, so we need more distance. The gaze has been affected as well. So we kind of cross the eyes just a little bit to develop that gaze, as you can see. And then we have the lower part of the nose all visible. Too much visibility on this part of the nose. The far cheek is too visible. It's tucked way behind the nose, almost at the nose level. Do you see that? The tip and the edge are almost near each other, but look at where yours is. So you've lost your ability to see the perspective. You weren't seeing it. And maybe you were seeing it, but you couldn't interpret it. And maybe you interpreted it, but you couldn't interpret it right. And this is all because you have different degrees of study, or no study at all, or you know what perspective is in your vocabulary, or you don't even have the word perspective in your artistic vocabulary, in your visual vocabulary yet. So just understanding this is enough, just to be able to read it in a reference. So do yourselves a favor and enrich your vocabularies, because this is really the only way. I mean, I could sit here all day showing you guys before and after, but if you don't apply yourselves, you won't be able to see these things for yourselves when you're drawing next time. Stacking is a big deal. So you got some of that. You hid the inner corner of the eye. I'm really proud of that. I'm happy that I didn't see the inner corner of the far eye. Usually students panic and they have this anxiety, or I had a good word for it earlier, but I forgot it. But what happens is the student panics, and then they want to be able to make a read happen, so they force the visibility of the far corner. I'm happy you didn't do that. That's good. I'm tucking all this up there. So you see that half moon shape? I could have just done the paint over it, but I want to explain why I did this. So the far corner of the lip, do we see that far corner? But look at how you showed it to me. You're still drawing front view when you're in extreme worm's eye 3/4 view. This is very, very bad sign. You really need to start working on your perspective. No, you don't work on perspective when you get into architecture or landscapes. Everyone says, oh yeah, I'll do perspective one day when I get into those. Or I'll take a Scott Robertson course or something and I'll draw some perspective. No, perspective isn't everything. Just because it's a face and it's a biological structure doesn't mean it doesn't have perspective. All right, and these were the major things holding this beautiful sketch back. It was holding back the realism. Right, so realism just doesn't go out the window just because it's become a drawing. In fact, more realism is required of you. Even more of a performance with fundamentals is required, because you don't have the perfect photograph anymore. You don't have all the perfect detail and perfect lighting. All you have is a sketch now. So you have to maintain as much of the fundamentals as possible. So I'm hiding this far corner, and if you guys remember, I talked about lips in 3/4 view. What was the one thing that I said about lips in 3/4 view? I'm just going to wait for the answer while I do a couple more changes. It's a really, really important fundamental for lips in 3/4 view. What is it? It's part of the reason why the far lip corner is hidden. Does anyone know what it is? If you're having issues With audio, please refresh the page. Please restart. I hear myself. Everything is running smoothly. It's telling me there are no errors with the stream. It's saying it's a healthy stream, so I don't know. You should be able to cylinders. Yeah, but what about the cylinders? One black spot only? Not really. The C shape, yes, tied in, but what about the C shape? Combine that with the cylinders. I want a full description of why that lip, that far corner is hidden. What does the C shape do? The curvature, yeah. They are rounded off because the perspective is changed. The top lip should also be darker. No, but what about the cylinder? What about the C shape? What does that mean? Imagine you're explaining it to someone who doesn't know. So explain it to me as if I don't know. The lips around the cylinder. The top lip should also be darker. Audio is fine. The perspective is changed. Stacking, yes. So I'll add all that together. So what happens when we have two cylinders is we have one cylinder on top of another cylinder. Let me just draw that for you. Come on. All right, so we've got one cylinder. This is a cylinder in 3/4 view, so now we're seeing the swell. And we've got another cylinder. And then we've got the lip corner, and then we've got the little dip of the far of the lip. And then we've got the other corner, but the other corner just can't sit beside. There's stacking involved, so that other corner is behind the lip. So that means we end up getting a disappearing act, and we end up seeing this. The far corner of the lip is no longer visible, but a beginner who doesn't have any understanding of geometric anatomy, who hasn't been doing their homework, draws a 3/4 lip like this. They just make one side longer than the other side. All right? And this is wrong. It's like this. There's a z-axis moving outward in all of this. It's moving out. Okay? So that's what I mean. That's why I hid that far lip. So let me show you the before and after so you can see the issues with perspective that you have. Do you see that? You drew the eye like it was facing forward. It was melting down on the face because you didn't prop it up against an object. So how do you fix your understanding of perspective? Someone just asked that question. Well, first you have to know what geometry is. Geometry is like the basic shapes underneath everything. If you don't have that in your vocabulary, you just will not develop an understanding of what rotation means. Rotation is when something has changed its position compared to the camera. The camera stayed in the same spot, but I don't know why it's doing this. I'm still getting used to this tablet. Why is it doing that? Why isn't it giving me pen pressure in the... I don't know. This is a setting I have to fix. Okay, so what happens is we've rotated the cube on which everything sits. This cube from front view has vertical and horizontal. Maybe I can just try that different version. Vertical and horizontal lines. And then when these horizontal lines tilt in a rotation, so we've rotated the cube away, god damn it, then they stack away, and one side becomes shorter than the other. So this is basically the building blocks of developing better perspective understanding. Drawing vertical and horizontal lines on your faces and all the frames of rotation, knowing what's stacking in front of what, and this is determined by understanding the geometry under the nose, mouth, eyes. And then, of course, there is just doing your form studies, seeing an object rotate. Just watching a cube rotate gives your brain a 3D model to reference when you want to draw a face in 3/4 view. So there are a couple more errors here that I'm still going to try to fix. One eye is higher than the other in this 3/4 view. Okay, and then the eyebrow placement also needs to move. before, after. And this is what we're seeing in this piece. Any questions? Hi, Libby. Long time. It's always 11 p.m. when you're live in the UK. I'm sorry. It's a shame it's not an easier time, but hopefully I can get used to tuning in. I'm sorry, Luke. I know, the whole time zone thing. I wish that I had this other way of... I don't know, man. I wish the Earth was flat. We all had just one time zone. Isn't the head shape off as well? I'm not so worried about that. You kind of get away with it. This is still a drawing. The head shape feels okay. I mean, heads come in all kinds of sizes. Maybe the forehead, there is like a foreshortening happening, so the top of her head is kind of far. The camera is causing a foreshortening in her lower jaw. Like her whole jaw area and mouth area seems much bigger. Do you guys see that foreshortening happening? You'd only see it when you move away. You know, tilt your head away from the canvas, but it's mostly in the face that write this back to me. It's mostly in the face where issues with perspective are manifested, where issues in perspective are visible for a student. It's mostly in the face. Of course, there are perspective problems in figure drawing, but that's a whole other ballgame. Istebrak, when you said that line of the eyes, I didn't get it. Okay. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about, where are you? There you are. Talking about this line. So let's draw a couple of lines on this. I don't know why this tablet isn't letting me draw proper lines. But it's this line. See that? It like lands it as a dot, and I don't like that. Still don't understand how they... Oh, you got to double click. All right. All right, so you see that's a line. So it does a little bit of a curve, and we go through the nose. We don't travel it on top of the nose. We go through the nose. And then there is this. Damn it, I don't think I did it right again. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Does anyone know what I'm doing? It's mostly in the face where perspective issues manifest. Good job. So there's the, damn it, I'm just going to use it. So there's the nose. There's the side of the nose. The perspective has gone through. That's the line that I'm talking about. It's the line that guides us around where to place the lips. God damn it, why are you doing this? Okay, so you're working now, but you don't work when... I hate you. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, does anyone know what I'm doing? Is there no like a setting that I have on that I don't know I have on? Is there like a double click thing that I'm doing wrong? Ah, shit. All right, it's okay. I think it's the pen pressure. Tablet sensitivity. I don't know. I don't know, Huion. I don't know, buddy. I don't know. You got some good things, and then you got a couple of other things, and it's weird. Anyway, so there's that line. And then we've got a symmetry line. So I did actually want to talk about what happened with my GT220 review video. So that was a big mess because Amazon sent me a faulty item. I returned the item to them, they refunded me and all that, but Huion got in touch with me and they're sending me a brand new GT220 for free because of the trouble that I had. And they understood that I was trying to give them a good review because I really did like that Cintiq alternative. It was so beautiful, it was so crispy, but it had all these issues, and I couldn't overlook them. So I had them in my review, and I was describing what issues I was having and how drivers weren't fixing it. And I tried all the drivers, but Amazon doesn't have a quality assurance check. Like, they don't really give a rat's ass. And I was talking to them, And I was just screaming on the phone. It just got to the point where I was just yelling at them. Because I said, when this person who owned this before me, you sent it to me scratched up. When this person sent it back, the first person who owned it, and they said, hey, this doesn't work, did you guys just put it back in the stock? Didn't you try to, like, you know, fix it? Like, open it up, fix it, find what's wrong. Maybe they could have described something about what was wrong. Maybe they were being specific and you guys ignored it. I told them, I demand, this just wasn't $30 lamp. It was a $700 device. This is no joke. I told them, I want you to track down the serial number. And I want you to find out who returned this, who owned this before me, this item before it was returned, and who the quality assurance manager was during that time that decided to reshelve this thing. Because it's got to the point where even Huion was embarrassed by their store on Amazon, and they're like, they are so, Huion emailed me and has been discussing this with me, and they said, it is so frustrating because Amazon doesn't talk to you. Amazon doesn't know how to, Amazon isn't talking to us. They're Huion and Amazon isn't talking to them. So no, it didn't say refurbished. They charged me full price for the full item. It didn't say refurbished. So beware, Amazon sells refurbished items for full price, and they don't have, as long as you return it within the return date, if it got damaged on shipment for the first guy who owned it, returned it, and he returned it in time, they reshelve it, guys. They don't look through what was the error. So make sure you guys are, looking out for this kind of shit, that they sell refurbished stuff. I'm not telling you ignore Amazon because they have third-party sellers, but if you're buying it from a warehouse, look for the words shipped by Amazon. That means they have it in a warehouse. So that means Amazon was in charge of shelving it back if it got returned, not the third-party seller, not Huion themselves. So Huion tested the device they're going to send me. That's a brand new item from their warehouse, and I'm going to try giving the review one more shot. If they send me a faulty item, which is very, very unlikely, I will not be bringing down that video. I put the other video on private for now. They did ask me to delete it because they said that the one you got isn't a representation of the quality we hand out. We'll be looking into why Amazon even did this to begin with. And in the video, I was trying so hard to not blame Huion, and I was thinking, okay, maybe this is Amazon's fault. So to explain, that's why that video went down. I will be taking components of it. I love the part where I was describing the ergotron and the benefits of the ergotron arm. I wanted to, I'm sorry for the delay, but I wanted to film the entire process of painting, but it was the part of the screen where these controls are, right here. The navigator and all that, like this half of the screen was not working. So I couldn't delete a layer, open a layer. I couldn't fix opacity. I couldn't do anything. And this was such an extreme issue. So I couldn't actually paint for you guys using the GT220. But when they send me the new one, which will be this week or next week, I'm going to film the entire process of painting a face and how to transfer, how to set up your desktop, how to use the ergotron, how to set up your keyboard, how to paint how to measure stuff if you have a live model, all that. I'll try to cover all of that stuff when it comes in. So that's why, to clarify, that's why that video went down. I'm still figuring out this tablet as well. The H610 is the one I ordered. There's another one, the Pro. That's a new one. I'm going to order that as well. And I'm going to see if the drivers are updated on that one. And so far, after discussing it with Huion, they said to me that right now you can only run one Huion device at a time. And they recommended that I put the driver in a USB stick. And whenever I want to use either device, I uninstall the driver for that and reinstall it. So I'm not sure why they haven't developed a plugin where you can exchange WinTab, which window is using WinTab, which device is using WinTab, which is why only one device can be installed at a time. You can't have a Wacom and a Huion in the same computer, by the way. I use two tablets, that's why I need two drivers running at the same time. So Abu has been working on a plugin. He's been trying to develop one. He's been extending into Reddit, trying to figure out how you can develop a plugin that allows WinTab to exchange between two devices. So I wanted to give you all of that announcement. Probably should have given it to you in the middle of the video instead of delaying it. But I just wanted to update you on that. Anyway. You're very welcome, Libby. That's cute. You're very, very welcome, guys. All right, so I'm so sorry you've been having so many problems. It's okay, Libby, you're so adorable. No, it didn't say refurbished. That's the terrible thing. It could be the native pen settings in Windows 10. I think I turned that off. All right, so a question. Lubna asks, how do you foreshorten the right amount and know when things disappear in different perspective? Is there a general rule or it just comes through practice? It comes through practice. There is no general rule. What you can do with slight foreshortening, unless you're measuring with 3-point perspective, you can just foreshorten the cube that you draw. You know, that initial cube, you can just foreshorten that a little bit. So that means that you can just kind of squeeze the tops a little bit like this. You can just squeeze those like that. So you cut these pieces off and suddenly we have something that's foreshortened. And then you just tilt a little bit more the visibility, or actually that's too much. Tilting a little bit more the visibility of the lower piece. So this means that we're seeing the lower piece of the jaw right over here. We're seeing the lower piece of the nose. We're seeing less of the top of the head. We completely don't see the top of the head. The top of her head, we don't see it anymore. We just see the temples moving up. This is all temple. So that means that that's the major foreshortening that happened. So all you have to do is just, I don't know who this is, but her face is officially in my video now. I do have a disclosure on the community wall. If you upload anything, it's subject to be in my videos. So I'm sorry if you didn't bet on your face being in one of my videos. I'm sorry, whoever you are. Because I know this is a personal photo. It's not like a fashion photography photo on Google. Maybe it is. Right, so this is the entire, it curves in. Alright, so that's just really all you can do when it comes to foreshortening. We're not, at the end of the day, we aren't architects, or is that what they're called? We are not mechanics. We are not engineers. We don't have to measure things to a T. We don't have to measure them perfectly. All we need is to borrow from different sciences to develop the face, because biology, physics, mathematics all go into being able to draw a face well. But it doesn't mean we have to be PhDs and all of that. It just means we have to have a more than topical understanding, which is still minimal. Of all the sciences involved in pulling off and transferring this through your hand, through your brain, through your arm again, and through your hand again, and through your pen, and through your tablet back onto the digital dashboard of your face, or of your Photoshop or whatever it is you're using, which is a lot. It's a lot to travel. It's a lot for a tiny little image to travel back, and what we do is use these sciences to help guide the preservation and the successful transfer of all these rules over. As I say, and I always say this, but nobody listens to me, write these down in a notepad and stick them on your monitor, stick them on your wall, stick all these fundamentals, surround your room with fundamentals. Not only will it make your parents see that you actually take this shit seriously and they'll actually shut up about you choosing art, they'll see that, wow, holy crap, this person really is, thinking about the sciences involved. They really are taking this seriously. But it will help you. It's part of the application process. Writing it down and keeping it up there, it will never allow you to forget it. I really recommend this, and not enough people are listening to it. All right, so before, after. So you're being held back right now by your limit. And I think your art is worth you doing a couple weeks on perspective. And it's just simple as tracing over. That little sketch we did of tracing over her face, that was all we needed. I wanted to talk about this. First of all, why is this background blue? Grayscale that. Get that out of the way. I know you're trying to have fun, but that blue is just going to mess up your eyes big time. Okay, so I wanted to give a little bit of a review for your figure drawings. I'm not sure how closely you're working with references. You have some really, really amazing ones over here. A big part of figure drawing is the animation aspect. We have a motion that is not just a still motion. It's not just one frame. It's part of a greater picture. It's part of a greater movement. It's part of an action. So, no, don't say you stick them in your brain. Don't say, oh yeah, I'll remember it. Don't worry, I'll remember it. You will not remember it. You just will not remember it. Don't say that to me. Don't say, oh yeah, I'll memorize it. I got it. I'm really good. I have photographic memory. No, you do not. Get a notepad, all right, those funny little sticky notes, and post them everywhere. I dare you. You will remember it much better this way. You actually don't have to depend on your memorization. You don't have to put your memorization on overtime. You can have it right there on your monitor, wherever you usually work. That's where you paste all of these fundamentals. Oh, light does this, and form does this, and perspective does this, and think of the cube. Pictures, you can do whatever you use. Use whatever you need to help in your specific learning style. But you really do need to use that sticky note trick. Putting it in a book and closing that book and putting it away does not mean you're constantly in a relationship with the fundamentals you need to memorize. Posting them on your wall as if they're pictures to be framed, that's when you really start taking them seriously. Okay, so because figures are part of a greater animation, what we want to do is learn how to use our lines well. So what you're doing right now is you have this really, really great gesture capture. But the lines you've used, I don't know if this is really your skill, and I don't know if this is an accidental success. So the way you prove to me it's not an accidental success is by the way you choose these lines. This last layer, so the first layer is the gesture. Oh, this is the wrong brush, I think. No, it isn't. The second layer is going to be your shapes. So right now you have a combination. The third layer is going to be the outline. So the final lines, the polished lines. How big is this canvas image size? Why is it doing this? Sorry, 1 second, guys. Trying to figure out which brush I used last time. I did this demonstration because I really like that brush. Oh, I think this is in, oh, okay. Mode, RGB, don't flatten. Yeah, use RGB, guys. Just use it. You're not printing these out. You're not going to print these out. So just use RGB. All right, so that means that what we're doing here is we are testing you whether or not you actually have, because you've got like 17 lines per edge right here. I want to know if you're actually going to choose the right line to represent the thigh. I'm just going to use this basic brush. Fuck it. All right. So when you use multiple lines, you're not actually showing off a skill in knowing which line does represent the edge or the muscle group. So when you're pickier with your lines, this is not me just depending on the Control-Z just to get a perfect smooth line. No, this is me testing your anatomy knowledge. So in choosing a really, really good final line, that's anatomy. Write that back to me. Your final stage reflects your anatomy just as much as these did. In fact, more. Because if you choose the wrong one, if you don't fold the ribs on this in the right way, you end up getting a really, like if you don't stretch them over here and push the ribs back up and show where the ribs come through. If you don't tilt the perfect brush stroke used for the tilt of the belly button, if you don't compress the breasts in the right way, you're not really showing me that you know exactly what this figure is doing. Doing these kinds of lines, any of these lines could be the right line. Do you know what I'm saying now? Any of these lines could have been the right line to represent that edge. But you're using hairy lines that show a severe anxiety in the middle of your sketch. So the rule of thumb is if you can animate the line, it's a clean line. You can't animate this shit. You can't animate that. How are you going to track down every single one of these little swerves? You can't animate that. You can animate this because it's just easy as transferring it into the other frame. So this is what I mean when I say, please use cleaner lines. Your first two lines can be, your first two stages, these first two stages here, can be as messy as you want them to be. These first two, sorry. Gesture and shapes can be as messy as you want to be, but you don't have to outline the edge of the torso in these first two. It could be just the spine, circle, cylinder, cylinder here, joint. It can just be as simple as that. All right, it can just be that. You don't have to actually draw the torso edge. That way you actually think about where the anatomy is when you do have to draw the torso edge later on. So this is wrong. The belly button face is the right. Along the symmetry lines, the belly button faces this direction. And then we've got a little bit there, and we've got the crotch area, which we see a lot of. And then that line connects into that. And then we've got that inner dip after the hip bone of the thigh. And then we've got some of the buttocks coming through from the other side and then merging into the side of the thigh, which we're seeing. And if we were to represent the thigh with a cube, which you should have in your shape stage, and we'd see more of this side of the thigh and more of this side of the thigh here. And this knee faces towards the camera. And then we've got that spring. Right, and then we've got this joint, which does a little bit like that and tucks in to show the rib cage. This is the rib cage, this is the joint, and then we move up. One line each edge. That's it. The arm does not need more than like 4 lines. And you see how picky I am? Because I'm imagining that one day I'm going to have to animate these. I'm not going to have to animate them, but I stand by this. The best drawers, the best sketchers, the best in animation, the best in, of course, best in animation, the best in anatomy are animators. I think nobody draws better than an animator. Sketching, nobody sketches better than an animator. Because they do so much of it. They have so much mileage in choosing the right lines for the right kind of anatomy. They really think about rotation because they think about movement. They always have a 3D modeling program in their brain. Because they have to think about how the greater picture. They have to think about the cube. They're always thinking about the cube. So when you're sketching these things, when you're doing these sketches, please remember that it is not a free-for-all with the lines. You have to be a little bit more picky. You have to be a little bit more careful. Use Control-Z as much as you want. Some assholes responded to my video before and said, oh, wow, she's teaching people how to do sketches, but she tells them to use Control-Z. That's a bad sign. No, fucking use Control-Z. And don't stop until you know that line is the most perfect line that could come out of you in that minute. If you're giving me crap lines, your drawing is going to be a collection of crap lines. Your drawing is going to be a collective crap. I'm not mincing my words here. If you don't choose the right lines, collectively, it will be a series of really bad lines put together. Oh, it's okay, it'll look good in the bigger picture. No. The equal value, the total value of a sketch is in the value of the first line you put down. Write that back to me. Meaning, if this first line that you put down is clean and is crisp and is the queen of your life, if this line is queen, then the whole sketch will be a success. All right? Animators are the best because they think about how to treat each line with respect. They treat each line with respect. They don't draw any line. They have messy ass draft sketches, but when it comes down to the last draft, to the final draft that makes the cut and goes into the cell, they are very picky with which line they represent. So using cleaner lines is good for the animation. It's good for the beauty and the presentation. So it's good for animation. It's good for presentation. And it's good for your skill set. So it's showing off your skill. So it represents your knowledge. All right. These are 3 reasons why you need clean lines. These are 3 big fucking reasons why you need clean lines. If you're going to sit there and try to refute that you don't need these 3 things in a sketch, you can go home. All right. So I'm serious about this. Is why I'm very passionate about this specific topic. Because a lot of you have the dirtiest lines I've ever seen. And no one is out there talking about this. No one is out there being really, really hammering it in that you need to stop using lines like they're 2 cents a piece. You need to be able to use them like they costed you everything. Every single line should be a representation of your discipline. Every single line should be a representation of your strictness and perfection. You are all perfectionists. You should all strive to be perfectionists when it comes to your sketch. This is still, in general, a messy-ish looking sketch, right? It's not perfectly clean. I mean, just look at that. It's not perfect, but it looks pretty in its imperfection. It looks pretty in the fact that we have a little tail here showing. We have a little bit of an overlap here. That's fine. That still looks sketchy. This is still sketchy. So a lot of people are saying, yeah, when we try your method, it's not going to look sketchy anymore. No, it's still going to look sketchy. Thank God I made this brush. I really like it. So I am done ranting about this. I hope that you guys are taking this into effect. You can fill up a page for the rest of your life if you're not trying to fix your sketches and make clean lines like this and figure out exactly where in the anatomy knowledge, in the application part of this, where these lines are supposed to go anatomy-wise. You're really not studying. These are all just a bunch of photo-referenced sketches. You're really not picking up anything out of it. You want to build a discipline. This is why I think animators are the best in drawing. No one tops animators. Even if they're animating something like Adventure Time, they are still better artists than we are, because they're not thinking about a single frame. They're thinking about multiple frames. That is the end game for all of us. We all want to increase our brain RAM like that. Okay? Do you know the person on YouTube with this perfect photorealistic? They start with lines and they are nearly perfect and minimal. I don't know. I've never seen. I don't really watch much other YouTubers. I'm sorry if you guys refer to them and I don't know them. How do you know you are overworking a sketch, like spending too much time on it? They're gesture lines. They're gesture sketches. So the way I know I'm spending too much time is I actually start physically wheezing because I'm working way too hard. The lack of knowledge is showing. So that's the struggle, which is the practice, which is good. At least you're spending time on a canvas. But when I know I've beaten a sketch to death, is just when I have tried 100 lines and none of them have worked. It means that at one point or another I did not choose the right shape, or the gesture was wrong, or I didn't reference enough. That's when you know you're kind of beating it to a pulp. You'll know when a sketch is done because, hey, it's done. It looks good. It's got feet. It's got shins. It's got everything else this sketch here is missing. And that's all that we need left to finish it off. We got a couple costume things, and that's it. That's it. We're done. You shouldn't be spending any more. Like, it's hard to give a time frame because every artist is different. Everyone has different skill points used in different degrees. So some are better with their lines, but they're not so good with anatomy. So it's hard to tell what is making their time frame so long. But for me, I usually don't spend more than, I did this a couple seconds in front of you, but that's because we had great gesture and shapes underneath. So it just depends on for how long it takes for me to capture a gesture I like, graduate it into the shapes and choose shapes that I like, and then finally spend the time, the grueling Control-Z time, making sure that is the best line I can come up with in this instance. And if it's not, I go home, I have a protein shake or something, and then I don't even drink protein shakes. I have like 8 eggs in a drink, and I come back and I try it again if it's not the best line. And that takes as long as it needs to. So probably 30 minutes per drawing for me. And that's because I'm a perfectionist, but I also make up for the extensive amount of time with some knowledge. So I'm patching it up. Maybe that's short for some people, maybe that's long for some people. But yeah. So I'm happy today we got to discuss 2 big things that haven't really been discussed much in our channel. Perspective hasn't been touched on much. We did a traditional sketch, which hasn't been done much, and we did figure drawings, which hasn't been done much. So I invite you guys to try some gesture drawing. Show me the lines you can do. Show me some clean lines. And let's see what everyone's saying. Sometimes I feel like after studying I've accomplished nothing at the end of the day. That's not true. So if you really count how many calories you burn after a 30-minute power walk, it's not much in the bigger picture, but it adds up. So don't feel like that any amount of time you spend on a canvas, sweating and grueling and focusing on that one thing means you've used those muscles and you've increased your endurance. You've pushed your threshold. So Patrick, if you feel like you didn't push yourself till you're done. But if you pushed yourself, and you know that studying session meant something, if it didn't mean anything knowledge-wise, at least you pushed yourself time-wise. If it didn't mean anything, if it was just a 15-minute thing, at least you got yourself to sit down for 15 minutes. And that means you've improved something along discipline. And this is one last thing I'm going to talk about before I let you guys go. Discipline is a big thing. If you don't have discipline, if you're a lazy piece of shit, you're not going to accomplish anything in your life. And I'm being serious right now. I'm not trying to insult anyone. We all judge ourselves. We all know what we are inside. We can't lie to ourselves, basically. You can lie to everyone around you and say you're the best disciplined person in the world, but you know deep inside you're a lazy piece of shit who likes eating popcorn on a TV, on a couch watching TV all day. All right? That's my inner demon. That's who I like to remember when I'm struggling. I don't want to be that person anymore. Popcorn isn't worth it. Popcorn doesn't buy you fancy cars. So I realized that I had a discipline problem. I wouldn't show up to a workout the way I wanted to. I'd work out for 2 weeks and then I'd stop. Work out for a week and then I'd stop. This was years ago. Now if I don't show up to my workout, I feel like sick on the inside. I feel dirty. I feel nasty. And when I started, I had weight loss goals. I had issues with my health and I had to start working out or else my thyroid would just die and I had to have it taken out. I didn't want my thyroid taken out, so I started working out. I lost so much time for art because I dedicated my life. I redirected my dedication to working out. I reached a fork in the road. I said, if I don't work out, I'm going to lose my thyroid, but I'm also going to be able to draw more. I can dedicate that extra hour to working out a day or dealing with working out or showering after working out or cleaning my workout station. I'm losing a lot of time for art. And I'm teaching and I'm working. But if I don't work out, I'm going to lose my thyroid. I'm going to be sick. So I knew I had to put something ahead of something. And I put my health above everything, above art, above everything. I didn't realize while I was teaching myself the discipline of showing up to my workout room, I was teaching myself the discipline of showing up to my sketchbook, showing up to anything that I was studying, showing up to classes, showing up and teaching better, and not finding cheaper ways to describe something for a student that paid me to describe it. I went all out. When I'm streaming for you guys, I stream all out. I make sure I finish most of the painting. When I'm streaming for you guys and I'm teaching for you, I don't skimp out on teaching a fundamental that just came up out of the blue. I try to teach it for you thoroughly, like the lips today. You guys saw a lot of, I've seen this before, but I didn't want to skimp out because I'm sure there's someone in the audience who is new. I owe all of that to the fact that I learned how to show up to my workout room. That discipline transferred over. It transfers over to why I'm a perfectionist with my lines. My sketches started to look better. So if you feel like you have issues with discipline, if discipline is a big issue for you, if you don't have discipline, and you just have to look at yourself. If you're lazy and you worked out for 2 weeks, you had a workout goal, you had a diet, whatever it was, and you just flaked on it, if you're a flaky derelict, you don't have discipline. If you feel like, if we wake up in the morning and you skip doing basic chores, you don't have discipline. If you don't, like militarily, and I'm kind of the extreme of it. I have to make my bed perfectly as if I was in the military. I grew up in a very military family, so my dad kind of got me into that. He kind of taught me what it means to have discipline with his own disciplinarian methods, But this is why I have that in my mind, and I was lazy for such a long time, and I kind of, started to realize, hey, there's a benefit behind this. Cleaning up my bed every day, making my bed every day. But I have to do it because what it does is it is, again, a reflection. It transfers over. The discipline I learn here, the skill points I build, transfer over into this painting, into this basic drawing. I promise you, if you guys get into developing your discipline, it can be as easy as washing your dish every time you eat something. Wash that dish. Even if you fucking hate yourself for it. Even if you're like, holy shit, I just want to go sit down. I don't want to wash the dish. I want to just relax after dinner. No, wash it. Wash it. I promise you. That development of your discipline, which is in this day and age, a very big, we were crippled in this way, a very big lack that we have. If we don't just develop our discipline much. Society isn't helping us develop our discipline. So you work on it. It could be anything. It could be any small thing that you have to do every day. Make sure you show up for it and you do it. Thank you, JC Draws. Thank you for that comment. You're very sweet. Thank you. You didn't have to, but thank you so much. I'm happy that they help you. You need to make your bed every day. All right, guys, we're in this together. We're all in this together. We're not military brats. No, we're not brats at all. The point of this is that we're not brats. Make your bed every day. Clean your station. Clean your desktop. Wipe your monitor. I don't know what it is you have to do. For me, cleaning is a great way to represent my discipline. It could be, cleaning out your cat's litter. But make sure you do it. And it can't be something you have to do like a cat litter. Never mind. It could be anything else that benefits you. I promise you it'll transfer right back into your in-game endurance. It'll increase your threshold per sketch. It'll make you more dedicated. It'll make you listen better. If you grew up a pretty, relaxed kid, your parents didn't give you much discipline that way. It doesn't have to be because your parents beat you or anything. It just as long as they gave you like a set rule of stuff you have to do. If you didn't have that growing up, you got to start raising yourself right. If your parents didn't raise you right, if your parents didn't raise you towards having better discipline, if your parents also flaked out on their workouts, don't carry that legacy over. Build a new legacy. This is exactly the issue I had. Nobody in my family worked out for more than 2 months at a time, and I hated that. I wanted to change that. And I have been working out for probably almost 5 years now. And I cannot believe it. I'm so proud of myself. And it's helped my, I didn't have to lose my thyroid. I didn't have to get my thyroid taken out, which is a massive thing. It's amazing. I managed to balance my levels outside of using thyroid medication. And then when I did use thyroid medication, it was just phenomenal changes. So I promise you guys it works. I swear to God, I'm not talking because I'm some sort of snobby, preppy person who wants to teach you to be perfect. I have been there. I've been on that far end of having no discipline, and you have no one to blame but yourself. So I really wanted to discuss that as soon as possible lately. I wanted to do everything, a little bit of everything before I have to go on my break. So July 25th, I start my surgery. I take off on the 24th, and I have 2 or 3 weeks off from that. I spoke to my doctor yesterday. I had a pre-op appointment, and he said that it's not recommended you lecture. Talking for long periods of time raises your blood pressure, and I don't want to just start having bleeding in front of every side. I didn't want to, tear stitches or anything like that. But I'm so sorry. That's so gross. But I will be back as soon as possible after that. So I'll try to keep today's lesson, next Tuesday and Thursday, as concrete as possible with what we need to think about. I'll try to discuss the things you guys really need because the break is going to be quite long, longer than my vacation break in April. So let's see what everyone's talking about. How many times a week do you work out? Every day, almost. Sunday I have to take off sometimes because I take off work, but I work out every day almost. Istebrak, do you even lift? I started lifting and then I fucked up my back and I stopped lifting. So now I walk, run, and cycle. Well, if you want to get better at art, you got to get better at life. It really is tied. It really is tied together. If you're lazy, you have bad work ethic, you have a bad diet, it's going to affect how well you draw. I think it really does. It makes you a bad discipline. If you don't have discipline, you don't have good drawings. That's it. You gotta be better like this. Level up, exactly. It's distraction, not discipline. It assuredly does not transfer, at least for me. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Discipline transfers into your sketches. If it's not doing that, if that's not happening, then you don't have enough discipline. If you have ADHD, or if you have distractions, or if you have actual diagnosed attention span issues, which as a teacher I've come across numerous students who have that, you just can't fight it. It's just how the struggle, it's a cross they bear. You still can transfer over some discipline, some unconscious level of self-moderation to make sure that you are trying your best on all fronts to I don't know, not push your focus or change your focus, but at least develop a threshold of patience, at least, in sitting for numerous amount of hours. And also, because we're sitting for so long, we need to get on a treadmill, guys. We will all become big people if we don't start working out. You're very welcome. Oh, you're so cute. Thank you, Valentina. You're welcome, guys. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're gonna make me gush. All right. Yes, we are unfortunately all at risk of being couch potatoes. Istebrak, for anatomy, gesture studies are enough? I believe so. I like to think that we're not medical students. Some of us are, so we have to memorize certain muscle groups. I don't think we need to memorize muscle groups. If you're not in kinesiology, if you're not in physiotherapy, if you're not studying muscle structures for medicine or med school, and you're just doing it for art, you shouldn't be memorizing each muscle group. If you're just trying to memorize general descriptions of the muscle group, so this many biceps in this area, the interior of the arm has this many triceps, and maybe you can just memorize a general description of of the muscles. Most of the time, you're not going to be drawing super muscular people. Doing muscle studies and memorizing muscle structures means you're building your visual library to draw only muscular people, which is not universal. It's only one character trope among many. Most likely, you'll be drawing very average-looking people, average weight, average muscle density in each body. So you don't need to be memorizing muscle groups, just general descriptions of the muscles. You think it's better to study the muscle bones, etc.? No, it's not. Never know how to practice anatomy. Photograph, trace over the photograph is a great place to start. How much do we worry about the head in these types of drawings? In these kinds of drawings, what do we indicate? Two things: the cranium. Right, so the cranium and the jaw. All right, that's it. That's all I need you to indicate. If you get into drawing faces, just a general description of the shadows on the face, just there and there. All right, you don't, even this is wrong, you don't need to be memorizing much. The cranium and the jaw. Two massive components of the skeletal structure of the head. This is a joint here. These pieces are not connected. The jaw is not connected to the cranium. Only a little joint connects them. There are two separate bones. So again, if you wanted to stay in touch with the community, if you want to upload stuff to the community, just go to istebrak.com. Go to the little Google Plus icon right over here and upload your stuff. Join. Make sure that you're following the rules. Please don't upload single sketches. I delete those instantly. Do not upload fan art. I've explained why before. And just make sure you follow the rules. The new challenge, the current challenge that is up right now, is the Conversation with a Dragon challenge. It will be due after I get back from my break. And it's a landscape challenge, so make sure that you guys are completing your thumbnails before you go for the final draft. In order to complete a final draft, you have to get your thumbnails reviewed by the community. Make sure you post it on challenge submissions. If I see any dragons talking to little people, I'm putting it in a challenge submission. I don't want anyone to think that the challenge submissions can be posted on the miscellaneous wall, okay? Even if you're not joining the challenge, that's pretty much where your submission's going to go. All right, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. I will see you guys on Tuesday. Bye.